Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Pastor Paul, doing well. Good to be here.
Mike, also, you know, the sun, there's been 5 solar flares today. They were M class, let me see, there was M class 2, M class 6, M class 3, X class 2, M class 5. This is, and then all of them are very pulses of extreme ultraviolet radiation.
Yeah.
The sun is really getting crazy. I mean, apparently Planet X, or, you know, this gravitational pull, this effect on our solar system must be really intensifying.
We're going to hit that second peak. We're going to hit that second peak, Pastor Paul, and when we do, we now always when it hits that second peak, most of the sunspots are drawn down to the central parts of the sun, right? So they whip out fast. That means they could be pretty big. These magnetic field coils can form in a heartbeat and do some real damage, right? So the time we had the Carrington event, that size of activity we'll probably see again. So because we're not out of solar maximum. We're just not out of that
not even
yet.
there. No.
In fact, they said we could have 3 peaks this time, not just 2, but 3 peaks this time.
Wow.
Which means winter, because nothing in the solar system is functioning like it used to. Nothing is. Every planet, the temperature is changing on every planet. Every single one. They're just not telling people this, right? They're sitting there talking about Earth, but they're not talking about the earthquakes on the moon. They're not talking about some of the moisture on the moon, the vapors. They're not talking about the temperature fluctuations in Mars. They're not talking about Venus going up in temperature of 400 degrees. They're not talking about Jupiter and some of the heat plumes that are coming off where that storm was. They're not talking about that. All the planets are heating up. They're changing in temperature. They're not talking about these things. And so people really think that is global warming. Well, the Earth is warming, but it's not solely from exhaust. Is coming from volcanoes. We have more volcanoes. If one volcano can put off enough carbon that we couldn't even do that in 10 years, it'll put it off in 15 minutes, the same amount we put off in 10 years.
Yeah, that's the real problem.
Then that tells you that we're just simply in a cycle. It's one of those long durational cycles that nobody is used to yet, right? Because we do have cycles that are 11,000 years, 15,000 years, 26,000 years, 36,000 years, and so on and so forth. And we have not identified all the cycles. There's evidence in the Earth of most of these, but we don't live long enough to experience that.
No.
And so right now, this winter, we'll go through a lot of the magnetic field lines of the Earth will be disturbed, right? A reversal of our magnetic field is what people are suspecting that's happening, right? That we're in the process of, as it starts to reverse, the magnetic field lines go into what's called a chaos moment, right? Okay. So that means everything is confused. They're going all over the place. They're not organized. When they're not organized, Pastor Paul, big gaping holes of a loss of a magnetic field will allow all the rays of the sun or solar winds or whatever to come straight down to the Earth also. When it's not moving like that, it affects all biological life, even us. It affects us. So people will be sick. Gravity will change on the Earth, right? It'll continue to change.
Wow.
Now, when gravity changes, time is going to be perceived differently. How do they know this? Because it happens with those who go into 250,000 feet and up, right? Yep. They can actually perceive 1 minute as lasting for about 15 minutes. So time will shift as you take away gravity. You have to reenact the Earth's magnetic field around these folks at a greater level.
Will people go flying in the air? I mean, will things...
Well, no, think of a person who weighs, maybe today they're 298, okay? And then when this happens, when the magnetic field goes into that chaotic mode, imagine that same person weighing 155 pounds. They still have the muscle strength to carry the heavy weight. So when they take a step, it's going to be a great imbalance. People are going to look weird, right? And there are stories of days when the animals could no longer walk. They just couldn't walk. There were moments when the animals couldn't walk, right? So they have all these little weird doctrines, these findings like that. They lock away from people and store them in museums and places like that. But why in the world would animals all of a sudden they can't walk? They can't walk right. A loss of gravity. That was the explanation in these documents. They said, well, it couldn't be any other thing. It's just a change in the weight that we have, right? But the Earth would also go through that same process. Now, when that happens, something else takes place.
Time.
Magma that's on the move, it's under pressure. So if it ever gets lighter, it's going to burst through everything. Right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of pressure to hold magma in its place. That pressure is going to be gone. And so we're going to have eruptions all over the place. That also means global earthquakes at the same time. This whole event lasts for no more. They say that probably about what they say, 2.5 days or something like that. Right?
So
but
for 2.5 days,
it's going to be a bad 2.5 days.
We're going to lose gravity or lose part of our gravity, which will then is going to cause volcanoes to erupt at an unprecedented rate and earthquakes.
Yeah, that's when the magnetic poles flip. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Bible talks, when you read Isaiah chapter 24, it really talks about the earth going to flip upside down. People are going to be scattered. The earth is going to reel and rock like a drunkard. It's just chaos.
They know what's coming. In geology, those who study geology, they know that when they're taught in geology to look at the rock strata, you can trace what orientation the magnetic field lines were through the rocks, through magnetites and everything. And so they know this has happened multiple times. It's just that we have not had a modern civilization since it happened. Right?
Yeah. We
haven't experienced that. So we don't, nobody alive really knows what the extent of that is going to be like. We do know one thing, that now solar winds are getting through because our atmosphere is changing. What happens when it goes into that chaotic mode? If we have gaping holes in our magnetosphere, we're going to be burnt up here on the top. I believe that's part of Revelation when the angel pours this vial out in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any protection, and it actually touches everything on the earth. That could be the explanation for vitrification in certain geological parts of the earth. I know we had something akin to a nuclear fight here at some point because they dug down. They can find another iridium layer and more vitrification. But the sun is dangerous, just like it is. It doesn't need to getting more powerful. It's just that we have a magnetic field that's pretty strong. But Pastor, all the charts are showing it's been weakening. Our magnetic field is weakening.
Yeah, I know.
Even without any external interruptions, it's weakening. And all the consensus is that we're about to go through a magnetic field reversal. Now, does that mean the Earth is not going to do a flip? I believe this. Yes, we have a magnetic field reversal, and it causes some, irreparable effects. But we'll also have a change in the rotation of the Earth. I strongly believe that. And that's in the biblical record, certain things in the biblical record, and through, knowing how celestial mechanics works, with the moon being in the sky and the sun doing specific things in one spot for a whole time. That can only happen with some type of pause and a reversal, right? That's what it would do. Everything would be inverted backwards. But most of your scientists seem to suspect that the Earth had a different rotation a long time ago, and we're going back to that. That's what they suspect. Wow. In fact, one of the I believe that I was reading one of the published reports, and some of the scientists suspected it had already happened twice already, and that we're overdue for it to happen again.
So some type of reverse. Well, the Bible, talks, like I said, Isaiah 24 mentions this happening, but so there's some kind of cosmic manifestation that changes the molecular makeup of our planet. I mean, you're talking gravitation changing. You're talking about temperature changes. You're talking about the sun getting through the UV rays, getting through our ozone layer. I mean, some type. I mean, is this a supernova thing, or is this part of the prophecies of the last days? What are we talking about?
I do think that part of this magnetic field reversal is going to allow common solar winds to hit the surface of the Earth. We already had that in 2004 when that magnetar went off. We had that ozone problem. They had the emergency meetings with the climate. But our entire solar system is changing, right? Which seems that tells me we have a second influence in our solar system.
There's that binary system. There it is.
Yeah. Well, I believe it. Even with celestial mechanics, you don't have to account for perturbations in certain orbits. When you add a second object, a second sun in this system, you don't have to tweak the formulas, right? NASA tweaks the formulas. JPL tweaks the formulas all the time just to get something up in an orbit. Why? Because it's always pulled in a certain direction.
Yeah.
It has to do with our axis also. Right. But we're not the only ones. So it's also shared and off a few degrees by something else that points in the same direction, whilst keeping that orientation. And it changes at a greater rate than the signs do themselves. So the Bible does say that one day, well, not the Bible, another document says that one day the stars will go out of place. But totally out of place. So we'll be looking up at the sky and everything will be out of place.
You know,
that will let us know that we're not maintaining our orbit, you know.
Yeah. I mean, Harvard professor Avi Loeb that we've had on 2 or 3 different times in these webinars, usually about UFO stuff and aliens. But I asked him one time about Planet X, and he immediately jumped all over that. And so we know for sure. We know right where it's at. We can't see it because it's dark and far.
Hey, he said it. He said it. Yeah, he was talking about that one.
Yeah, he did. He did. And he confirmed it. He didn't even, there was no blinking there. I mean, he didn't, is like this common knowledge within the scientific community. But of course, he said the public, we can't explain that to the public because they can't see it. I appreciate you coming in tonight, Mike.
All right, Pastor. God bless you, brother.
God bless you. Amen.
All right.